Hey guys, welcome to this video. My name is John Watts. I appreciate you watching this. I hope you get good value out of it. What we're going to be talking about is you've been sued by a debt buyer and you win your case or the case is dismissed with prejudice. Does that mean that you can sue them or you can sue them, or are there things you need to do before you can know whether or not you can sue that debt buyer who sued you and then you won your case or you had it dismissed with prejudice? So I'm sort of in the middle of a federal case right now, and I don't have time to create slides or anything. So I just want to talk to you about this. So a couple of concepts. We're not talking about a dismissal without prejudice, okay? And I'm going to talk to you about how this works in Alabama. If you're not in Alabama, you've got to figure out your own state, but most states are going to be similar to this. Without prejudice, it's like the lawsuit was never filed, okay? That doesn't mean anything. What we're talking about is with prejudice, or you actually win your case. In other words, you go to trial and the judge rules in your favor. What does that mean for you? What can you do? What should you do? Well, there's a couple options. One option is you do nothing. Okay. Now, I suspect if you were going to do that, assuming you have other options, you wouldn't be watching this video. Let's kind of put that aside. Second option is that you could dispute the credit reporting. So most, not all, but most debt buyers are credit reporting. So the Jefferson Capitals, LVNVs, Midland Funding, Midland Credit, Portfolio Recovery, Cavarly, these sort of the big guys, they credit report. Okay. And so, they say you owe $5,000, you go to trial, you win your case. Now, what happens with your credit reporting? Well, you could very quickly, or even give them time, but you could file a dispute with the credit bureaus. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, Innovis, if they're on there. And we're not going to talk about how you do the disputes. We cover those in other videos. But make sure you can prove that your dispute was received by the credit bureau. And so you do your dispute. Well, what do you say in your dispute? Well, typically you would say, hey, I got sued by Midland, Portfolio, Jefferson Capital, LVNV for $5,000. Here's a copy of the lawsuit. Okay, you can see they sued me for $5,000. They say this is an old Synchrony Bank, an Old Navy Synchrony Bank account number or ending in 0987. Okay, and so that's what they sued me for. And then you say, so you guys, the credit bureaus, you can figure out which account I'm talking about. Maybe you only have one Midland account or portfolio or whatever it is. You say, it's that account. Here's the account number that I know of. Here's the lawsuit. You can look at the dollar amount. You can figure it out. And we went to trial. I won. Here's a copy of the order where I won. Or it was dismissed with prejudice. Here's a copy of the order. The case is dismissed with prejudice. And just so you know, dismissed with prejudice normally means what's called an adjudication on the merits. It means you won. Okay. And so you let the credit bureau know, here's the account. I got sued. I won. Now get it off my credit report. Do your job. Get it off my credit report. And then you see what happens. And we've talked about this in other videos. What will basically happen is you have, let's just call it, portfolio recovery over here. And you have Equifax, Experian, TransUnion over here. These guys get your dispute, and through eOscar, they will send an ACDV, okay, so Automated Consumer Dispute Verification Form, that has your dispute and usually will have your letter if you send a letter. If you send the complaint, the order, all that will be included. It goes through eOscar to the furnisher, to Portfolio. And Portfolio will then investigate it. At least they're supposed to. And now you think about that. If Portfolio sued you, or Midland or Jefferson Capital or whoever it is, if they sued you, they should know, right? I mean, they're not going to sue you and not know they sued you, right? If they filed a lawsuit, they will know there is a lawsuit against you. Well, if they know there's a lawsuit against you, they know that they lost that case, right? That's not a secret. I mean, the court tells them they lost, tells them through their lawyer. Every state I know of says when the lawyer learns something in the course of the representation, that knowledge is immediately what's called imputed or sent to the client. So that lawyer knows he or she lost that case, and as soon as they know that, boom, Midland, Portfolio, Jefferson, whoever it is, they know they lost that case. So here you have the credit bureau. They send that ACDV to the debt buyer who knows that they sued you, knows that they lost. So how hard is their investigation? It ought to take like 2 seconds to go, well, we lost. I mean, we can't keep this account on the credit report because a judge just ruled that we're not entitled to our money. Pretty simple. But for some reason, they don't like doing that. Why would they not like doing that? Because they know if they keep it on your credit report, it may jam you up buying a car, doing a background screening to get a job, get a promotion, get a security clearance. The most common thing is you're trying to refi your house, take advantage of unbelievably low interest rates as I'm recording this video. Or maybe you're trying to get into a house, and you cannot have delays. The way the housing market is right now, I think today's March the 10th, if you stumble on your financing, they're like, buddy, we got 5 other people bidding on this house, and some of those are cash buyers. So they know all this. And so they leave it on your credit report because you're going to be in a bind and you're going to be calling them, I need you to take it off. They're going to go, well, we'll take it off if you pay us. Tell you what, $2,000. Then we'll take it off your report. Now, never mind that you don't owe it. Okay. They leave it on there. It's called parking an account. So that's why they would tell the credit bureaus, keep this. So remember, here's a credit bureau. Here's the debt buyer. They send that ACDV. It comes back through eOscar, which is just sort of the communication system that says keep it. Well, now let's think about the credit bureau. Does a credit bureau need to do a bunch of investigation? They know what accounts you're talking about. They know who you are. They know that you got sued by this debt buyer, and they know that you won. That ought to be the easiest investigation in the world. They don't even need to go to the debt buyer. But if they go to the debt buyer, it ought to be like this. Hey, did you guys really sue, so-and-so? And did you really lose? Okay? This is the world's easiest investigation for the credit bureau. And under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the scenario I've described, the credit bureau has an obligation to investigate, and the debt buyer has an obligation to investigate. They both do. Now, they'll try to blame each other. The debt buyer will say, well, it's really the credit bureau. And the credit bureau will go, well, we just repeat back what they say. That's all we can do is just parrot back what they say. No, they both have responsibility. Okay. Now, what if it gets deleted? Well, great. You got off your credit report. Now, you have to look at your state law, look at the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, see if you think you have some other claim. But if they delete it off your credit report, there is no Fair Credit Reporting Act claim against the debt buyer that sued you. And I'm not getting into whether it's possible to sue the credit bureau. So that's one approach. So you win your case or you get dismissed with prejudice, and whether it's quickly or a week later or a month later, you go to the credit bureaus and say, I dispute this debt, get it off my report. And what's the other option? The other option is you just kind of sit back. Just wait, observe. Just kind of, you won your case. Let a week go by. Let a month go by. Maybe you let 2 months go by. Keep this in mind. Most debt buyers are going to update your report every month. Okay. Now, it's typically on a certain day. So let's just assume it's on the 1st of the month. Well, if you won your case on the 2nd of the month, well, then by the time the 1st comes the next month, that's almost been, depending on the month, right? 27, 28, 29, 30 days. Well, what's the debt buyer going to do? Because here's the credit bureau, here's the debt buyer. The debt buyer every month sends information to the credit bureau. Well, are they sending information saying, delete it, get this off of the consumer's report? Or are they saying, hey, update it? Maybe add a few dollars interest onto it. Say that he owes $5,010 now. Is that what they're going to say? Well, so you just watch this. You won. You got the dismissal with prejudice. You just watch what happens. So then maybe you let another month go by. Maybe they update it again. Remember, you won back here, and now they're updating and they're updating and they're updating, saying that you owe $5,000. Well, what did the judge say? You don't owe $5,000. So at that point, what could you do? Well, you could sue. You sue under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You really can't sue under the Fair Credit Reporting Act because you need to do the dispute through the bureaus. But you could just sue the debt buyer under the FDCPA, false credit reporting. They're misrepresenting things. So all sorts of things you can sue them for. But you could also say, well, you know what? I've let a month go by, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Now I'm going to do a dispute through the credit bureaus. So just like the first option, you go to Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and Innova, say, hey, I got sued. I won. Here's the order. They keep updating my report. What's going on? They know I don't owe this debt. Get this off my credit report. Don't trust this debt buyer. I mean, look at the Better Business Bureau, the CFPB. They're terribly unreliable. Okay? And see what happens. Because the credit bureaus, they should just immediately delete that. They don't even have to go to the debt buyer. They have enough information. Oh, I see the account. I see that you won. Wow, we got to get this off your credit report. But they usually don't. They go through that eOscar, ACDV, to the furnisher, the debt buyer, and say, what do you want to do? We'll do whatever you want to do because this is what we do. We just parrot back. We just repeat back what you, the debt buyer, tell us to do. We don't care about the consumer. All we care about is you, the debt buyer, our customer. You tell us what we should do on this. The debt buyer, now think about it. Now it's been a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, however long it is. They know they sued you, right? And I sometimes have these guys, they'll say, John, you don't understand. We file so many cases. You can't expect us to know who we sued. We can't keep track of it. We sue so many people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. We have no earthly idea who we sued, so we can't be responsible for knowing when we lose. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's your argument? That you sue so many people that you can't keep track of it? Wow. Okay? So they know they sued you. They know they lost. Okay? They can't go, well, you know, that only happened a few days ago. I mean, that's a lousy excuse. But here it's been a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, however long it's been. And so this debt buyer knows they sued you. They know they lost. And now they're getting notice of a complaint, a dispute from who? Equifax? Then do they get one from Experian? Yeah, if you dispute it. How about TransUnion? Yeah. How about Innova if they're reporting there? So they get 1, 2, 3, 4 ACDVs. Usually the letter, if you send it by letter, is with that. So they get that 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And again, they know they sued you. The debt buyer knows you won, that it lost, and it knows that all these months, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 3, 6 months, that it's been reporting bogus information on you. And so what do? You would think this would be the absolute easiest investigation for the debt buyer to do. But you know what? Sometimes they'll just say, nope, keep it. Update the balance. Now it's $5,097 that you owe. And so they send that back to the credit bureaus through eOscar. Again, the credit bureaus, if they decide not to do their job, which is generally, then they're completely worthless. They're just going to repeat back whatever's said. And then they tell you, oh, we're keeping this on your credit report. The debt buyer told us to. Okay? So what do you do at that point? Well, I would suggest you look at suing the debt buyer. Remember, debt buyers over here. Sue them under the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act. Maybe you sue them under state law, malicious prosecution, abuse of process, invasion of privacy. And there's all sorts of things. We've been filing these suits since, I don't even know, 12, 13 years. I can't tell you how many of these lawsuits we filed against all these debt buyers. But that's what you do against a debt buyer. Against the bureaus, you look at the Fair Credit Reporting Act. They did a lousy investigation. So that's under Section 1681I. They haven't had reasonable procedures to assure maximum possible accuracy. because you're telling them that you won your case and they're still reporting this on your credit report. That's under Section 1681 EB. Now, for the FCRA against the debt buyer, that's going to be 1681 S2B. Okay? And so you sue the bureaus under the FCRA. And you ask for damages for emotional distress. Maybe you've suffered economic damages. You couldn't close on that house. You got a higher interest rate. You got turned down for a job or for a promotion. And then you ask for punitive damages under the Fair Credit Reporting Act because they did this in a willful, reckless, wanton manner. Okay? And you're entitled to punitive damages. And then under the FDCPA, you get all those damages except for the punitive damages. And you can also get statutory damages under both sections, both laws. So I just want to give you this overview to say, if you won your case, or if you got a dismissal with prejudice, and you have to understand the law of your state, okay? And make sure you understand what's happened in your case. Make sure that this applies to you. But these are two options you have. Either go ahead and sue, okay, under the FDCPA. That's not my favorite option. My preferred options would be you do like we talked about. You go ahead and dispute under the FCRA, or you wait. Give it time. See what they're going to do. Are they going to report you still owing this debt a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later? And then, rather than suing, I would suggest do a dispute through the credit bureaus. And even if they fix it, you still got them. You got them under the FDCPA. Now, sometimes there's a strategy of you go ahead and sue them under the FDCPA, and then, you know, when they suddenly start correcting your report, you go, yeah, I had to sue you to make you correct my report. I mean, you guys would have reported it forever if I hadn't sued you. So there's different strategies. You have to understand those strategies. I would definitely get with a lawyer that understands about debt buyer lawsuits, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA, and the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So the debt buyer lawsuits, the FCRA, the FDCPA, if you're in this position where you say, hey, you know what, 2 months ago or 6 months ago, I won my case. Again, I'm not talking about a dismissal without prejudice. That really doesn't mean anything. But with prejudice, or if you actually have a judgment in your favor, in favor of you, the defendant, then I would look very, very seriously at this and see what you can do. If you have questions about this, just sort of a general nature, you can put those in a comment. If you want to ask me specific questions, say, hey, here's the lawsuit against me. Here's the order where I won. Maybe here's the dispute letters I did to the credit bureaus. Here's where they kept it. What are my options? What do you suggest? I'm happy to look at that. And if I can help you, I'll tell you that. Or if I think, hey, you need to go see this lawyer or that lawyer, I'm happy to tell you that as well. So just reach out to me. You can do it through my website at alabamaconsumer.com. And I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I will catch you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.